most rulers try to control power. Some try to strengthen it. Others try to reshape it. Akhenoten tried something far more dangerous. He tried to replace reality itself. This is not the story of a strange pharaoh. It is not the story of religious madness, artistic eccentricity, or personal obsession. It is the story of what happens when a ruler refuses to work within a system and instead attempts to overwrite it. Systems can bend. They can absorb exceptions. They can survive compromise. But they do not forgive replacement. When Akhenoten was born, his name was not Akhenoten. It was Amenhotep. Amen is satisfied. The name itself was a declaration of loyalty to the most powerful god in Egypt. Amen was not just a deity. He was an institution. His temples controlled land, grain, labor, and wealth on a scale that rivaled the crown itself. His priests were administrators, economists, and political brokers.
And at the height of this system, Egypt was thriving. Akhenaten's father, Amenhotep III, ruled during what historians often call Egypt's Golden Age. The empire was rich. The borders were secure. Foreign rulers sent gifts instead of armies. Power was stable. Not because Egypt was perfect, but because its system worked. Religion, economy, and authority were tightly interlocked. The gods legitimized the king. The king funded the temples. The temples sustained the state. It was a closed loop, and it had lasted for centuries. Akhenoten was never meant to disrupt that loop. He was not the obvious heir. The original crown prince disappears early from the record, and only then does Amenhotep IV step forward. When he ascended the throne, he did so as a conventional ruler. The early years of his reign followed tradition. He honored the old gods. He built monuments at Karnak.
He ruled from Thebes, the spiritual and administrative heart of Egypt. Nothing at first suggested catastrophe, which is exactly why what followed was so dangerous. Around the 5th year of his reign, something changed. Not gradually, not quietly, abruptly. Amenhotep IV erased his own name. He became Akhenoten, effective for the Aten. With that single act, he severed himself from the god that had defined royal power for generations. And he did not stop there. Akhenoten proclaimed that the Aten, the visible disk of the sun, was not merely the greatest god, it was the only god. All others were false. Amun, Ra, Osiris, Isis. Their names were removed from monuments. Their temples were closed. Their priests were stripped of authority and wealth. This was not reform, it was annihilation. For the first time in Egyptian history, the state attempted to eliminate its own religious foundation.
Akhenaten did not argue with tradition. He did not reinterpret it. He did not layer new meaning onto old structures. He declared them invalid. And then he made an even more radical decision. He left. He abandoned Thebes, not because it was weak, but because it was too powerful, too crowded with memory, too saturated with institutions that could resist him. Instead, Akhenaten chose an empty stretch of desert, far from Egypt's traditional centers. There, he ordered the construction of an entirely new capital. Its name was Akhenoten, the horizon of the Aten, a city with no past, no ancestral gods, no inherited power, only sunlight. Akhenoten rose with astonishing speed. Temples without roofs, so nothing could block the sun's rays. Palaces aligned to the horizon. Streets designed around visibility, not ritual mystery. This was not sacred darkness, it was exposure. And the art changed too.
Kings were no longer distant, eternal, and idealized. Akhenoten was shown with an elongated skull, narrow limbs, and soft features. Family scenes replaced formal poses. He appears with his wife, Nefertiti, and their daughters, touching, embracing, almost fragile. It was intimate, human, unprecedented. But intimacy does not replace infrastructure, and sunlight does not feed an empire. Akhenoten believed truth alone could sustain power. He believed that once the correct God was revealed, the system would realign itself. He believed obedience would follow clarity. He was wrong, because systems do not survive on truth. They survive on incentives. Akhenoten did not begin his revolution by attacking the people. He attacked the system that fed them. For centuries, Egypt's religion had not only explained the world, it had organized it. Temples were not places of abstract belief. They were economic engines. They owned land.
They stored grain. They employed workers. They managed redistribution during famine and surplus. The priests of Amun were not mystics. They were administrators. By removing the gods, Akhenoten did not simply change theology. He dismantled the operating system of the state. When the temples were closed, their resources did not magically transfer to the crown. They vanished into confusion. Local economies stalled. Workshops lost patronage. Supply chains tied to ritual calendars broke down. And the bureaucracy did not know how to adapt, because it had never been designed to function without the gods. Akhenoten assumed loyalty would follow truth. But loyalty follows stability. And stability was dissolving. Beyond Egypt's borders, the situation was growing worse. Foreign territories depended on constant attention. Tribute had to be enforced. Alliances had to be maintained. But Akhenoten was absent.
He remained in Akhenoten, focused on ritual, theology, and the perfection of his vision. Letters from vassal rulers began to pile up. They warned of unrest, of rebellion, of enemies advancing. They asked for troops. They received silence. Because Akhenoten did not see these problems as urgent. He believed that if the cosmic order was correct, the world would adjust. It did not. At court, resistance did not look like open rebellion. It looked like hesitation, delays, quiet non-compliance. Officials followed old habits when no one was watching. Ritual language survived in private. The names of forbidden gods were whispered, not spoken aloud. The system was not fighting him, it was waiting him out. Because systems understand something individuals often do not. Time favors structure. Even within his own household, the experiment began to strain. Akhenoten ruled alongside Nefertiti, not beneath her.
She appeared in royal iconography as an equal, sometimes as a ruler in her own right. Together, they stood as the sole intermediaries between humanity and the Aten. This concentrated power was unprecedented and fragile, because if belief in them weakened, there was no backup. No priesthood, no alternative ritual, no layered legitimacy. Only the sun, and the sun does not negotiate. As years passed, signs of collapse became harder to ignore. Akhenoten was never fully completed. Sections were abandoned almost as soon as they were built. Burials increased, living conditions deteriorated. Recent research suggests the city was not destroyed by plague or disaster. It was simply deserted. People left, because belief could not compensate for hunger, and ideology could not replace distribution. Akhenoten ruled for roughly 17 years. When he died, there was no dramatic climax. No assassination, no uprising. Just exhaustion.
What followed was swift and decisive. The experiment was reversed. The old gods returned. Their names were restored. Their temples reopened. Akhenoten was abandoned within a few years. Its stones were reused, its memory erased. Even Akhenoten's name was stripped from king lists. He was not corrected. He was rejected. His son inherited the ruins. The boy king changed his name from Tutankhamun to Tutankhamun. The Aten was replaced. Amun was restored. The system returned to its familiar shape. And Egypt stabilized. Not because Akhenoten had been wrong about truth, but because he had been wrong about power. Akhenoten believed reality could be redesigned from the top down. He believed belief could be commanded. He believed that if the system was wrong, it should be replaced. What he did not understand was that systems do not exist to express truth. They exist to survive. And survival does not require purity.
It requires redundancy, compromise, memory. Hatshepsut bent the system and it endured. Thutmose repaired the system and it erased her quietly. Akhenoten, because he failed, but because he revealed the limit. A system can tolerate exceptions. It can absorb reforms. But when asked to replace itself, it responds with something final. Silence. Erasure. And a return to what came before. Akhenoten is often remembered as a failure, a heretic, a dreamer, a ruler who broke Egypt and was erased for it. But that interpretation is too simple. Akhenoten did not fail because his ideas were weak. He failed because he misunderstood what power is designed to protect. Power does not exist to discover truth. It exists to preserve continuity. Truth can be inspiring, but continuity keeps people fed.
And when the two collide, continuity always wins. Hatshepsut understood this instinctively. She did not challenge the gods. She did not dismantle institutions. She did not demand belief. She used what already existed. She spoke the language of tradition. She wore its symbols. She ruled inside its boundaries. The system bent. And because it bent without breaking, it survived. Thutmose III inherited that survival. He did not rage against the exception. He waited. And when stability returned, the system corrected its memory. Not violently, not publicly, administratively. Names were altered, images adjusted, precedent removed. The system repaired itself. Akhenoten did the opposite. He did not bend the system. He did not repair it. He denied it. He tried to replace centuries of accumulated structure with a single truth. One God, one ritual, one source of legitimacy. That made him indispensable.
And systems do not tolerate indispensability, because what cannot be replaced cannot be trusted. This is the pattern hidden beneath Egyptian history. Not chaos, not superstition, not irrational cruelty, but maintenance. Empires do not erase people out of anger. They erase outcomes they cannot afford to repeat. A successful exception is dangerous. A failed replacement is instructive. Both must disappear. Akhenoten's city was abandoned, his religion dismantled, his name removed. But the system did not collapse. It recovered. Because it had learned something essential. That it could bend, that it could repair, but that it must never allow itself to be rewritten. This is why Akhenoten still matters. Not as a warning against belief, and not as a lesson about madness, but as a demonstration of limits. Limits on reform, limits on truth, limits on power itself. A ruler may command armies. He may command law.
He may command ritual, but he cannot command survival. Survival belongs to the system. And once you understand that, Egyptian history stops being mysterious. The erasures make sense. The silences align.
The patterns repeat. What endured was not what was true. It was what could continue. In the next chapter, we will see what happens when systems face something they cannot bend, repair, or erase quietly. When correction no longer works. When memory fails. And when continuity finally breaks. That is the logic of collapse. And it is where this story leads next.